Never let a woman go, even when you know she can always be replaced. She can always be replaced. No lust only grows like anger and revenge. No beauty comes and goes, but love stays until the end.
Hi, I'm King Charles, and I'm going to show you how I made the track Love Lust, exclusively for computer music. I always start my recording process or writing process with a acoustic instrument, a guitar or a piano or a trumpet. Actually, no, I don't even know how to play it. And then once the framework of the song, or it may start as a poem, or it may start as even less than that, it may start as chords or a note. Any starting point's good. And then I come in here, which is less of an inspiring room, so I feel like I want to get most of the ideas for the song somewhere where the ideas come to me, which isn't usually in here. But now then everything goes on to a computer, and I use Logic. I started with Logic Express. That's what I recorded Love Lust on, which is I don't know, slightly. I think it's quite limited, but I didn't know any. I knew what I needed to know, but I didn't know any more. So I guess I was my own limitation. I used bullet mic and a SE condenser and a SM58 for pretty much everything. I recorded everything with 2 tracks, one with this, one with the condenser, and then sort of balance the two in a how I fancied. Then all the stuff that I couldn't do, like I couldn't record a good kick sound because I didn't have a kick mic. So I found most of the those kind of limitations end up pushing you to find a solution, and they always end up being within a small field of possibility. So you end up with having to go with stuff, not having a choice, which I think ends up adding to the sound, which, well, I guess is what it is. So I used programmed kicks. What else is on here? Marimba, I didn't even know that was on there. Piano, harpsichord, or something that sounds like a harpsichord, and then random pad, that's what it's called. And then the rest is audio, and in this song it's there's quite a lot of vocal, guitar, keyboard. There's distorted keyboards for there's a heavy bit in it, but most of it's quite simple. And that was the first stage, sort of here, and there's the first stage of production and arrangement, and I end up with a song that I like, but it's the sort of mixing that I'm not very good at. Don't really know what I'm doing. So at that stage I take it to MI7 studios, where there is a second stage of production, sorting out sort of bass sounds, the stuff that I've overlooked, plenty of logic crimes that have to be fixed and altered, sort of stuff like that, and then they mix it, make it sound sweet. In this track, the piano would have come first, which sounds like this. Really simple. Just notes. Yeah, without a acoustic piano, without real piano, it can often sound a little bit daft unless you've got an amazing, like, Nord piano keyboard sounds, which I don't. I've just got these Logic ones, so I have to like put a few things on it to make it sound like, more like an actual piano. Which is, so I put on some compression, some reverb, and some EQ. Took off the bass. Usually I don't really know why I would do, like, I would fiddle around with stuff until it works. I could actually know how compression really works. Ratios, someone explained it to me once, but I found just by sort of ear how something you want it to sound. Once you get there, I don't wonder how I've got there. I just leave it, and then because I've got there, I think. But then there's loads of stuff that always can be improved. I used the piano as the framework because it's something to work off. It's like the foundation that you can put things on top of, and once you've developed it, eventually you can sort of almost take the piano away. But it's great to have and I chose not to in this song, but it's great to have that framework as something to build on. And a lot of the process of recording, after the song's written, the process of recording is like a secondary writing phase, which is really the important bit of how actually the song sounds, because there's 1,000 ways you can record a song. You can, with the piano bass line, I could have turned it into a drum and bass tune. It would have been rubbish, but I could have tried. If you see what I mean, there's loads of different ways you can produce something. Drums sound like pretty active, but I suppose it gets. I think there's more drums in here. Let's have a look. It's like when everything's like, you can tell that it sounds absolutely rubbish when it's like the drum sound is weak, which is my biggest sort of limitation at the moment, which is what I mainly sort out at the second stage. As you can tell from my amazing drum sound, I record pretty much everything separately. I record like hi-hats and the snare together, and then toms together, and then I never actually bothered with the kick drum because there's better sounds than this. And my drumming's pretty wiggy, so everything's chopped up quite a lot, and then looped or stuffed together in a way. And then I always have to fiddle around quite a lot with them to try and get it to sound good. But let's hear like. Yeah, so I guess the drums will actually change quite a lot through this. There's some smashy drums, some like. This is a good bit. Bit more like party, but it's all quite basic. Compression, EQ, Averb. Averb's my favourite. Logic, Express. Reverb, just turn it on and away you go. What have we got? 3, 4 drum tracks, and they individually they would have compression or reverb on them. Well, it's all a bit of a mess, really. Everything gets put on whatever track's available at the time, and there's snare and hats on one, and then there's another snare mic which ties in with that'll be recorded at the same time, and then there's another snare mic, and then there's a condenser snare mic. But don't take my word for it. What's actually on there may not be what it says is on there. It all sounds the same at the end of the day, I think. What I would usually do is get the framework out. So I'd get the keyboards, and then I'd do vocals so I know where I am, and then I'd do things like put in the kick, and then the snare and the hi-hats and toms. There aren't actually any toms in here, but cymbals I always do separately as well. Not true of this track, but usually, because everything just gets mushed up. And then I'd probably put on guitar. There's guitar, which I record out of my amp through a condenser, and then I'd always do the effect before it went into the amp, so I didn't actually have to do that much. Once it's in here, there's still some compression on it and nothing else really. Sometimes I'd reverse it or like chop it up, and this is quite a sort of, I don't know, I feel like it's quite an organic-y song, so there's not that much in the way of like glitches and like reversed guitars, but it's just quite straight, obviously. Guitar solos. Yeah, so that's very easy, but that always comes once the framework's done. I think the vocals always, once you've got the choruses, verses and stuff in place, it then frees you up to like where you're going to put the next, where you're going to put the guitar bits, where you're going to put the different beats, where you're going to, all that stuff is really easy just to play around with once you're on Logic, and I don't really get a grip of it when I've just got a guitar in my hand, because I don't write with the band, so we don't sort of go to a rehearsal studio with a new song. I have a new song and then go here and then go to the rehearsal studio rather than the other way around. And then there's probably the main part of this song is the vocal, and I've just stacked it up loads of times with this bullet mic, because it's really warm, but it's also kind of crackly, and you can often end up it not sounding very clear, and then like you can sound like kind of muffled as well, and then like poppy, and so that. How many tracks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 vocal tracks.
No woman go, even when you know she can always be replaced. She can always be replaced. No lust, only grows like anger and revenge. No beauty comes and goes, but love stays until the end.
Yeah, so that's that vocal, and then usually I double vocals up, but
I even sent you flowers when you
sounds
felt
like it's
ill. You've the strength of
just
the Greeks.
this
You are
and
God's
no condenser.
masterpiece. You're every triumph, every victory. I believe in every breath you breathe.
which is why it sounds like that.
And I always imagined you'd be by my side when I'm hiding in the city or I'm tearing through the wild. You're only a yoke and noose on my throat. If your beauty is a fortress, then my...
Yeah, so that's those vocals. Yeah, so everything goes in. All the sounds. basically what I'm trying to do, what I try and do here is just get the sounds in, get the arrangement, get the basically get the song, but it's never really. I mean, it ends up not really sounding like sort of studio worthy. I mean, it's the way I want it to sound, but it's not the way anyone would want to listen to it, I reckon. You see what I mean? And the other, there's bass. Where's the bass at? Here's some bass. No idea that was in there. That must be in the heavy bit. But it stops halfway through that, that's interesting. Loads of bass on the EQ and some standing compression. Yeah. I've EQ'd the bass like this, stuffed up the bass loads, so, well, I guess I want it to sound like bass. Really bassy, because there's, I don't know, like a screeching guitar in it, and high vocals. So I want to see it. But there's no other bass in it. I don't know where that, I don't even know, it's only hot, that only appears once. It's a bit of a phantom audio track. Oh yeah, marimba. Combining sounds is quite interesting. I went to see Rusalka the other day, and I loved the use of the oboe and the flute at the same time, playing the same part. It made an amazing sound. So I tried to combine different sounds, so like hard sounds and soft sounds that you end up with. I've got a marimba with the piano playing exactly the same thing, which gives it a little like a woody sound, slightly more percussive, like piano already is, but it's forgot that was in there as well. The EQ, a little bit of mid-range, a little bit of treble range, boosted, not that much, no more than necessary. Yeah, I love that rhythm, moves things. That's just on the rim of a. I get a lot of room sound. There's a lot of. I sometimes record like vocals while the track's still running. Which I don't know whether is a good idea, but.
Oh, even when you know she can always be replaced, she can always.
No, that sounds quite clean. I think that was probably with headphones, but it always bleeds through headphones anyway. So it sometimes adds to the sort of. If a song's thin, it sometimes just sort of plumps it up a bit. I think in terms of tracks, that's pretty much what's going on. There's 31 audio tracks and 4 software tracks in use. So when I finish the song in this studio, I take it to MI7, load it up into, they use Pro Tools, and they sort of get, there's a sort of process that I mean they'll tell you about more, where it's getting drums in tune. We often re-record drums. I go and re-record in their studio, which is sometimes more necessary than others. Sometimes it doesn't work because the drum sound sometimes is good in here and sometimes it's not. Like we re-recorded drums on this track, and got it all in time, like quantizing stuff, basically making everything sound a bit better. And then I think the most important phase at MI7 is the mixing process, like going through all the different tracks, making each one sound individually good, giving it the right sort of sense of space, stuff like that, which I don't put any time into. So it goes from being it changes quickly. Basically, I think it's just. I mean, just in terms of the sound it has, not the sound, the kind of slickness of it, which is good, I suppose. And then once that's all done, we have another think about other stuff that we could put in. Different, so it's just like a secondary production phase, and different. I mean, this track didn't really change a huge amount. Most of this was mixing and extra drums and sorting out, getting things a bit more together, cutting down sort of noise. To be honest, it's all a mystery to me. I don't know what they do there. It's brilliant. Yeah. So now we are in MI7 studio, Florida. This is Max. Wait, you can introduce yourselves.
I'm Max. I am the studio assistant.
I'm James. I run MI7. One of the producers, co-producing with Charles on this album.
I'm Charles. I'm the boss. I'm in charge of everything. This is. That's what he was going to say.
Well, I'm Mitch. I run MI7 with James. We do a bit of production.
And I'm Jeff. I'm the main engineer.
Well, we're here to look at what the final part of Love Lust. I'm sure you've seen the first part at Charles's house. Here we kind of take it apart and try and reconstruct it again, and try and stay true to his original recordings.
First of all, when Charles brings his Logic song into the studio, the first thing I have to do is go through it and just tidy things up, just see if there's any what I call logic crimes been involved, which is just
A little bit. It takes about 5 minutes. 5 minutes work.
Just checking like all the bits of audio are on the right tracks, and just getting my head around and just listening to things, see what's there, and making a mental note of what needs to be done in terms of cleaning up or what have you. Maybe seeing any parts that might need to be redone, or just basically see what's there. Then consolidating the audio, making a decision whether if the effects and sounds he's got from the Logic song need to be kept, or whether we just want to take the raw files, and then transferring it over to Pro Tools, where the real business begins. I prefer to use Pro Tools over Logic, because when it comes to I think it's superior to the Logic for recording audio, and generally in use in a recording session. I think it works better, just because of the way you can set the you can listen through the machine without hardly any latency. It was a big one for me with having a TDM system. So that makes headphone mixes and all of that sort of thing a lot easier. Even though we do have a desk, nice desk. But I mean, doing this way, I can set the headphone mixes up on the computer, and then we can come back to it 2 days later or whatever, and it's exactly the same. So that makes everyone much more comfortable, doesn't it, Mitch?
Yes, it does.
Because that's obviously a bit of consistency, makes everyone feel happy, which is important. So using that, I prefer the plugins on Pro Tools, and it costs so much money. It's got to be better, isn't it? So reassuringly expensive. It works for a lot of things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Though we do have a Logic system in the other room, by the way, so we're not Pro Tools biased. So any endorsement from Logic, I'm here. I've just got Charles to buy Logic 9. Any endorsements from Logic?
It improves all the time, I have to say. The new guitar pedal thing on it, so much better.
Deep.
So much better. Those plugins are great. So that's the main reason. And things like editing in Pro Tools, I find editing whole multi-tracks is a lot easier than in Logic. I like the playlist thing in Pro Tools. It keeps the whole arrangement page a lot clearer, which actually focuses your mind on what you're trying to do, rather than You know, having hundreds and hundreds of tracks everywhere, all going down the same channel, and you don't know where things are coming from.
Logic 9 has a playlist thing then. We've caught up.
Yeah. So this track has got several, like it's got a big heavy bit in the middle. So you've got several different sort of bits of the drum, like different drum sections. So starting off with his little tappity tap on the rim.
Tap tap on the rim.
Which is all good, and then it goes into this heavy section. So at that point, so we've got there's plenty of compression from this 1176 emulation, and that's mixed in with there's a snare mic here as well. Nice and trashy. I've used the 1176 just to tame the snare a little bit and take it off. Yeah, bring up the sort of bush swishiness going on there. Yeah, and then it jumps into this bit, which is obviously a completely different sound. So I've got to change the EQ to this bit of Pultec, which is just taking off a bit of 5K. And then the next section, this bit, I wanted the hi-hats already poking through, so I had to put a gate on it with it being triggered from the snare drum, so you can hear that. You can see it's just the gates being triggered by the snare, so when he's hitting the snare you can hear the snare a lot more, but the hi-hats are being pushed down because hi-hats get over everything and can be very irritating, so got to keep them under control at all times. In the heavy bit we also added to Charles's drums with another drum set. So I used a gated reverb from an old SPX90, which is down here. There you go. So that's a, I don't know how old those units are, ancient. Got a bit of a classic sound to it. So, and also there's running along with that. There's a kick sample, just to keep a bit of consistency in the kick. So. To be honest, I can't remember if that's an external one or just one we took from there. But there it is. Does the job. This is a tape emulation plugin by Massey, which is great and very cheap, in fact. This is on the toms. That's just giving them, just sort of solidifies the toms a little bit. But no, apart from that, there's. I basically treated those drums as a group, the whole thing. I mean, you can see there's, I don't know, there's about 8 mics on those drums, but they're just all bussed together, and I just treated the whole thing as a group. With a bit of, quite a lot of compression. So quite a lot of compression from the 660, and some EQ. Yeah, so the EQs come on and off throughout the track, different, because like I say, the track's got quite distinct sections. So yeah, so different EQs for different sections. There's an electronic kick which runs right at the start of the tune, and that changes. That we use different settings on that as well during the tune. So it's got a high pass at the start, because at the start of the tune it needs to be quite soft, and then later on it just needs to toughen up a bit. This URS EQ comes in just for this middle 8 section. Then it goes duller there. And then back to that at the end. Bass wise, the only bit of bass is these 12 bars.
Yeah, I discovered that today. I thought, okay.
So you've just got this bit of bass.
Is that me playing that?
That's you playing that, mate.
Oh, that's so brilliant.
So a bit of crunch from the Sanson. Then a bit of amp farm. So just to toughen it up a bit, really. They've done a little cut at 200 on that, which is pretty subtle. Now, one thing with Charles's sound is that when it comes from Logic, is he loves a bit of compression. If you've seen the Logic songs, he loves compression and reverb. They're his two favourite plugins, and he puts it on everything pretty much. Normally at the same setting, so quite often they're absolutely slamming. So a lot of the time when we were doing this was that it was like having to listen to how he's done it, and then trying to get a similar sort of vibe going on. So you see on this guitar, the 660 is really pushed hard. Take that off. It's great for brightening stuff up, in general sort of brightening. So then there's 4 more tracks of guitars that are doing various things. This is on the heavy section, and it all just quite a mash up of guitars. The thing is, there's a lot of in this heavy section. In this heavy section, there's quite a lot of cymbals and everything going on. So there's a lot of things going shh like that. So, in actual fact, it's more about keeping the guitars quite dull in that section. Because otherwise, if you have too much stuff being really bright, it would just sort of take your head off a bit. And so I didn't really do much of those, to be honest. Didn't they? They were just sort of working as they were. So it was just a bit of low cut on them. That was pretty much it. Yeah. So piano sound here. This actually I EQ'd with some outboard using this the TLA parametric EQ, which is like a valve EQ. Which is pretty sweet. Just went out, came back in, and then just crusted it up a little bit with the Sanson. So all that distortion, that's the sound that we took from Logic. That's pretty much bounced it with all his stuff on it. I think we actually had it initially without all the effects on it, but after fiddling around a bit, it was just went back to his Logic song and took a bounce at it with all the plugins he had on it. So I remember. And then there's a marimba. So just got a bit of compression. come to his vocal. So we spent quite a bit of time trying to emulate the sound of the A-verb on Logic, using the D-verb on Pro Tools, which is like the native one. So we came to a setting which is pretty similar to the A-verb, which he used in his vocal just because we were really feeling that sound. So we've got that one there. A de-esser. It's another de-esser by Massey. Massey's a guy, I think he used to work for Eventide, and he programmed a lot of the Sound Toys plugins, which are wicked. And now he's doing his own ones, and they're all about $50, and they're brilliant. I think this one was. He often uses his bullet mic, which is like a little short one that you normally see people use on a harmonica, which instantly gives his voice quite a thin, well, very distinctive sound, a little bit distorted as well, which is great. But you just got to be careful that it doesn't sort of take your head off, because it can be a bit sort of piercing. So that's what the DS is doing.
I wrote you a song, Mississippi Isabel. I even sent you flowers when you fell ill. You've the strength of the Greeks. You are God's masterpiece. You're every triumph, every victory. I believe in every breath you breathe.
And you notice I've got the reverb. It's actually the first thing on the track, and then there's a compressor after it, which is a bit of a strange way to do things. But that was the way he had it on Logic, and that was the sound that we wanted for this vocal. So it is. Sometimes you've got to do those things. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like 4 harmonies, and then the bit which I've called like the choir. So we've got this one.
And I always imagined you'd be by my side, whether I'm hiding in the city or I'm tearing through the wall. You're only a yoke of noose on my throat. If your beauty is a fortress, then my love will be the moat.
So we've got that bit. Then when it gets to this section as a whole.
Never let a woman go, even when you know she can always be replaced. She can always be replaced. No lust only grows like anger and revenge. No beauty comes and goes, but love stays until the end. Never let a.
So the whole sort of choiry bit, basically just building up on those harmonies there for the second chorus, and they stay in later on in the track. So they're all grouped together and processed as a group, again with the same A-verb into a compressor, and then sort of warmed up with this plugin, which is another different tape emulation plugin, which is also good for just warms things up a bit, compresses it slightly. Yeah, as sort of tape would. Sort of thickens things up a bit, which is nice, especially because I think a lot of these vocals were recorded on the Bullet, so you get a lot of them. You get a lot of build up of sort of high frequency, so it's nice to warm it up a little bit. Now I like to process things rather than reaching for EQ every time. I tend to like to use as many other things as I can and use EQ as a last resort, because I think you get a bit more of a natural sound like that. So on this section I used a reverse reverb on the vocals. So you reverse them, run them through the reverb, and then reverse the reversed reverb, so it runs forwards and sounds like that. It's quite a nice effect for this section. We just wanted something a bit sort of otherworldly. Suck you in. So you have the forward vocal here and the reverse vocal here. So reverse that one, run it through the reverb, and then reverse the file I got from running it through the reverb. Okay, so this next sound was made by James
This sound is interesting. Sometimes we feel like we might just add an idea occasionally to just enhance a certain section or something. In this case, it's quite interesting because we were just singing the idea to ourselves. We were like, what kind of sound, what's going to generate that kind of sound? And a bit of head scratching. After a bit of head scratching, we decided that I'd just do it on the mic with my mouth. I was trying to emulate a synth, and then Jeff's done certain processing on it. But this sound has actually just been sung to sound like a synth. You know? So we've recorded it on a microphone, and then Jeff's processed it through. I'll show you through a few filters and things.
So that's going through this sort of phaser plugin, but there's a bit of automation on it, I think. Yeah, so I'm just sort of twisting the frequency up as it goes. You just can look at, I don't know, look at this frequency thing here. And then it's going into a delay and a reverb. The reverb's our favourite deverb. Okay, so now if I take all the effects off, you can hear what it sounds like in the raw. Good for you, James.
Amazing what can come out of your mouth sometimes.
Wow. That is pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, just looking at that, there's actually less things processing and stuff going on than I remember. But it just shows that a track's, you know, a combination, and it becomes more than the sum of its parts, you know. And also obviously, you know, the sounds, the guitar sounds and what have you, were, like we said before, were done by Charles, and he, you know, we didn't want to. No point diving in there and changing everything. If it's good and it's working. It's about, when you bring stuff here, it's about us taking the track forward rather than stripping it down to nothing and re-recording and reinventing it. On the master, I've just got a another tape emulation plugin. It helps. I put that on like at the start of the mix as well. Mix into it, which helps. Yeah, sometimes I use compression stuff on the bus, but in this instance, didn't need to. You know, the only difficult bit was the heavy section. That was the only. Because you know, it's always when you've got a track that goes from quite sort of chill and then suddenly goes to a heavy section. It's getting that impact. Just getting the balance of that, so it's enough and it's not completely takes your head off. Just getting that balance. That was the only tricky thing, really, I would say.
Okay, so this is King Charles and all of us at MI7. Thank you very much for coming. This is us signing out. Bye.